Podcasting's consolidation doesn't have an end goal, but it'll make tomorrow's podcasting landscape markedly different than what we've seen before. Here's one not so pretty look at our future. Hello and welcome to another Podcast Pontifications with me, Evo Terra. Now, I love me a good dystopian story, mostly because I do not want to live in a dystopian world, but it is what I like to read. And question for today is, what if that's where we're headed in podcasting? Bear with me. Yesterday, we got the news that Libsyn bought AdvertiseCast. What that means to anyone who is on the Libsyn platform is that you will be able to have an easier time running ads on your show because AdvertiseCast will be out there representing all of the shows on Libsyn to bring you programmatic ads, which means ads you don't have to do anything about. They just show up in your content. That's the idea. That's the basic idea behind that. But I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of that because this episode is not about Libsyn acquiring AdvertiseCast. This episode is about the what if of the future. What if every podcast hosting company, whoever you're using today, what if they do something similar, which I think is pretty clear that that's head that direction. Monetize this stuff. They're headed the same direction, making it easy for you, easy for you and every other podcaster on their platform to monetize their show through dynamically inserted advertisements, all part of the platform. Now, how could that possibly be bad? Well, follow me on this journey that my brain went through last night. It's the future. I don't know when it is. But these hosting companies that are doing this now, and all of them, all hosting platforms, basically, now are having podcasters the ability to run ads. What happens with these podcast hosting companies wake up one morning and go, wow, we've crunched the numbers, and we're making more money from our individual shows on a per-show basis by getting the share of profits from the ads running on those shows. More of that than we are from hosting fees. So what'll happen? Well, those hosting companies that recognize that will start attracting more people by how? Lowering their hosting costs, which are already pretty low right now, around $20, but that'll go down and down and down to where it gets to free. Free hosting will be the outcome of this. Well, free in the fact that the cost of using it means you have to run ads. You have to run ads, which we're going to do because not only is it free to host over there as a podcaster, but we're going to get money in our pockets. So most podcasters are going to say, yeah, that works for me. I don't have to pay and I get money. Sure. Let's keep going. The economic pressure on these hosting companies now increases. They have to decrease, if you will, the costs so they can get a competitive advantage over their competition. That means the cost of how much they take of the advertising deal. They've already giving away hosting for free. Now they have to give a larger and larger piece back to each person to keep them on the platform. That spirals either up or down, depending on which side of the equation you are on, until low-effort ads, programmatic stuff, becomes a commodity that is made pennies on the dollar. That's also going to put pressure on the direct sales teams that each of these hosting companies that now have their own ad rep firm in. That's big pressure for them to do more and also lower that 30% commission rate that they're taking right now. So either they lower the 30% commission rate or they start tacking on additional services, additional things they can do beyond just getting an ad inserted into a podcast episode. Now that in turn will impact the big shows, the powerful shows who handle their own ad sales right now, making hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars a year on advertising. They're going to lose. Some of those people aren't going to like this new model that's in there, so they're going to, well, do something different, right? I think we'll see a premium, if you will, hosting provider crop up that is not just let me get you a $50 CPM as opposed to a $30 CPM, but now it will be a let me handle all of the things that you need to handle. We're going to be a full service advertising sponsorship portal, kind of like a concierge level of that, recognizing that they're more of an influencer marketing. These power shows, these premium hosting companies out there will pay a very high price for this, but it'll be very high touch. They might have to give it even a larger chunk of their money, but as long as the net revenue at the end keeps going up and up and up for them, it will. But that's great for the advertising, Eva. What about the business class podcast, right? People who are using their show either as a sales platform in and of itself, maybe as thought leadership, or maybe even a service that they consider free service they want to give to their customers. What about that? There's a lot of that happening in podcasting. Well, I think similar to the premium podcast model, where pricing is charged based on a per user basis, or you're paying for bandwidth, I think something like that will crop up for them as well. I think those shows will still be public, probably, but they don't have to be. They may, especially if you're paying as you go, the hosting company, they may restrict access. Just some sort of registration to make sure you're the right person getting the content, much like free magazines that are distributed to various offices are highly specific. Well, you can't get those at home. And then what about the creative class? Think serialized fiction, think art projects, think people that just want to put a story out there and see what happens. Well, I think those people will get split three ways in this dystopian future. Now, some of them, I think maybe the ones with big audiences or those that are just, doing it on the cheap, they're going to just grab onto that free hosting model and accept the fact that ads will be inserted into their content. Because that's the way things work right now with a lot of the free things we're generating. I think a lot of people will be okay with that. And again, the big ones will be okay because they make money from it. Some of them, making more of the higher-end content that do not want their content injected with ads, I think they're going to be forced to put it behind a paywall. Making that possibly accessible via Apple and Spotify's rumored and likely to come out ways to do direct sponsorship or direct payment for shows. I think those that really want to make great content without ads will wind up having to do something like that, protect the integrity of the IP that they've generated. And I think a few of those stragglers, the third thing is going to happen is they'll still seek out the remaining $20 a month providers that have managed to weather the storm, at least for a while. But of course, those companies that are charging $20 a month or whatever their fee is are going to be very much in controlling of their cost because they will have lost a lot of the other things. They've lost a lot of the companies, the podcasts they charge little, or they cost them little dollars for because they've gone to the free hosting models now. So they're going to be, their pool is smaller. They're going to be closer. And then I think finally, and I know this is running on, I think there will be a new crop of these ad-free hosting providers that are going to emerge from this. But they'll be from service providers who are providing services to us, the podcasters, giving us free hosting if we use their services. So think of the all-in-one tools that are coming up right now that are charging podcasters to take a lot of the work off of their shoulders. Hosting's relatively easy and cheap, realistically, if they're already making many dollars from us on a monthly basis to use the software. I mean, there'll be limits on that, but also they'll be pressuring us pretty hard to buy more services. So in this dystopian world, very quickly, what are we left with? Free hosting providers that require ads, so think YouTube, but more annoying than that. Some luxury hosting providers that cater to the biggest, so think about big book publishing. Business class hosting, which is going to be cost prohibitive for most of us unless we've got measurable outcomes or direct revenue sources we can track to our show. A fractured system of paywall providers, so like streaming providers today. Maybe a paywall aggregator or two that works with all of those and takes a piece of your profits. Some software service specific hosting that comes with a plan, so think like the Adobe Cloud. And then the hangers-on of that $20 a month hosting model. I'm not making a prediction. This is a possibility. And if this is potentially frightening for you, but you liked it, hey, I'll take a virtual coffee. buymeacoffee.com/evoterra. All right, on that positive note, I'm going to say enjoy your weekend. Happy egg hunting for those who celebrate, and I shall be back on Monday with yet another podcast, Pontifications. Cheers.